It's the one place in Las Vegas where we're tracking the past, trailblazing toward a sustainable future, reveling in the beauty of every seasonal bloom and the joy of each community event. And there are many more stories at the Springs Preserve, where all that matters is what's elemental.
We're grateful that preserve archaeologist Nathan Harper was paying attention on his walk to and from work over a wall of massive landscape boulders. Boulders that would prove to loom even larger when he recognized some fantastic tracks, which we now know are Jurassic in origin.
Archaeologists are always looking down. We can't help it. It's what we do. We look on the ground for items that we may find. And so it was just natural for me to be looking down and see the top of this boulder where these dinosaur tracks were located. And because I'm an archaeologist, I'm not a specialist in dinosaurs or paleontology. So it was very important for me to confirm what I thought I saw with an expert.
And the perfect expert was UNLV paleontologist Dr. Steve Rowland, who deals every day in eons of time, but was certainly in a hurry to confirm Nathan's curiosity.
He recognized what they probably were and asked me to come have a look at them, and sure enough, they're spectacular examples of dinosaur tracks from the Aztec sandstone, which is the local Jurassic sandstone in Red Rock Canyon and elsewhere. The unique thing is that they're what we call natural casts. All the other tracks that we found in Red Rock Canyon, Valley of Fire, and elsewhere in southern Nevada have been impressions in the rock. The ones here at the Springs Preserve are actually what we call natural casts, where the animal walked in mud and then sand filled in that impression and created an inverse track, which then the rock got turned upside down. So the tracks that you're actually seeing here are upside down. You're looking at the bottom of the footprint of the animal. We haven't seen any other examples of that.
These are fantastic. You can see the claws, you can see the foot pads, you have partial tracks, you have complete tracks.
Complete enough to depict some incredible details about a long extinct but still very lively type of dinosaur.
So we call this growlator. It's a small theropod bipedal dinosaur, all of which were carnivores. So these were small carnivorous dinosaurs that were lurking around the sand dunes of southern Nevada 190 million years or so ago.
Which makes it absolutely Jurassic in its time frame and behavior.
We're pretty sure that these carnivorous dinosaurs probably came into the dune area of southern Nevada hunting these small squirrel-sized therapsids.
And it's plain as the tracks on this rock, at least to an expert's eye, that the dinosaur was stalking its prey around an ancient watering hole.
This animal I picture walking across this muddy lake bed and mud sticking to its foot. And so you can actually see the footprint that's kind of gloppy, that's not really distinctive with the toes, was an animal that was a foot that had mud stuck to it, and it made an impression. It picked its foot up and the mud still stuck to the foot. And then when the sand later filled in that track, it filled in that kind of gloppy mud print.
If that conjures up the image of a modern wading bird, you wouldn't be far off.
Almost when you look at this type of dinosaur, you could almost look at, say, a great blue heron or an egret or something like that. And it strikes me as being something very similar in body type and movement.
So now you can see why we went out of our way to take this extraordinary boulder back to the quarry to be reshaped for public display.
We were able to take the boulder to a quarry where they cut it down into a more manageable size, and you're able to see the strata, you're able to see the layers of the sand in the sandstone and still preserve the top of the rock.
And that's inspired our staff, who are some of the most avid students of Southern Nevada's natural history, to keep looking down all over the property with the highest hopes of other discoveries, which are a regular but still amazing feature of the preserve.
There is a deep history of life here in southern Nevada, and you can go out and you can see that here at the Springs Preserve, you can see it at Red Rock, you can see it at Valley of Fire. You just have to get out and go find it.
Every weekend this fall, we'll walk the walk and talk the talk of the pirate in an engaging new educational show that's inspired by our upcoming traveling exhibit on the legendary shipwrecks and their actual undersea treasures that are still being discovered today.
Obviously with one of our shows there'll be fun, there'll be excitement, and there'll also be lessons that people can learn about to kind of go hand in hand and complement the exhibit that's right across in the other side of the building. The exhibit is all about undersea archaeology, archaeological sites that weren't available to us because of technology and things for hundreds and hundreds of years. Now we're discovering all of these treasures and learning more and more about what life on the sea was like. Much of what we know when we think of the imagery about pirates, a lot of it comes from bad movies and theme park attractions, but a lot of it's based in facts. And so most people aren't aware of some of the reasons that why we think of pirates as having eye patches and parrots and peg legs, and where those stereotypes or where those images came from. And that's what our kind of show's about.
Join us as we explore life on the sea, if you dare. Pirate shows every weekend from October 3rd at 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. And then visit the Shipwreck exhibit, open from October 18th through January 31st. For more information, visit our website at springspreserve.org.
In our botanical garden, there are many rooms of distinct and diverse outdoor spaces that are elegant examples of landscape design brought to life by a dazzling variety of plants, enlightening visitors through the beautiful unity of their themes and inspiring them with growing wisdom.
We have many themed gardens at the Springs Preserve in the Botanical Garden. We have a cactus collection, a Mojave desert succulent collection, palm garden, rose garden, veggie and herb garden, enabling garden. So there are many to visit here that gives you ideas for how you can use themed gardens in your own landscape. So one of our most interesting, I think, themed gardens that we have here is the Mojave Desert Cactus and Succulent Collection. And this is a collection that's actually recognized by the North American Plant Collections Consortium. And this collection for us, it's the largest collection of those plants found regionally in any public garden, and they're all plants native to the Mojave Desert. So they're native, they're extremely native, they're very tolerant of our conditions because they're from here. So it's a great example of plants that you can use from your local environment that are going to be accustomed to the extremes of our high heat in the summer, cold temperatures in winter, and extremely drought tolerant.
The collection is meant to move visitors through several desert communities of plants in seemingly natural settings that are also carefully arranged to provide the best possible perspective on each specimen.
In our cactus alley behind me here, you can see different planting beds, and this is done systematically as you're moving through different deserts of the Southwest, and so there's unique plant material in each planter bed, so it can be best appreciated from all angles by the public.
And the most thoughtfully designed gardens can work on many beneficial levels.
One thing that you can consider in looking at a themed garden is you can always have stacking functions. So it doesn't necessarily need to be just for aesthetics or just for a theme. You can also serve the purpose of providing suitable habitat for wildlife, serving pollinators and attracting them to your yard. You can also incorporate sometimes edibles and things like that. So there's always ways you can incorporate multiple purposes in any themed garden.
Or even multiple themes, depending on the demands of your home landscaping and the needs of the plants.
Even in a small yard, we can have different themed areas, and this can create a sort of room effect where you have different visual spaces that are broken up, or you can have one unifying theme that carries throughout the yard. But in some cases, you might want different themes, particularly if the plants have a different water use or exposure, so we want to group like-need plants together. So we could have a themed area where there might be an edible garden and some different water needs there, with maybe a succulent or more drought-tolerant garden in another space.
One of the tricks for balancing variety and unity in any themed garden is adding oddity to your plant selection.
Always plant in odd numbers. It typically is going to look a little bit more aesthetically appealing. It's a little more visually attractive to most of the public. You can get away with single plants if they are very sculptural or structural or very sizable plant, but typically you want to buy in 3s and 5s, things like that, and just repeat colors, contrasts, and the same kind of plant palette for a better look.
Before you design or buy, it's always worth a visit to the preserve, where you can take a self-guided tour by following our new garden signage that will lead you from space to space.
So throughout the gardens, you'll see themed flag signs throughout, and these will tell a little bit more in detail of what the themed areas are. They'll tell you what plants are there, why they're chosen, and so this can give you a little bit more detail as you walk through the gardens.
And for the detail-oriented designer, our tours and classes will offer you formal instruction that's also free to feature unique seasonal plants while addressing your own pressing questions and giving you more room to grow. Whether you have a seasoned green thumb or you're a homeowner in need of new ideas, the 2015 Southern Nevada Landscape and Garden Tour is sure to inspire. Explore more than a half dozen private award-winning properties during this free, one-day, self-guided tour. Master gardeners and landscape experts will be on hand at each location to discuss design features and planting techniques. To register for this event, visit us at springspreserve.org.
The arrival of autumn means a revival of everything the Springs Preserve stands for, gathering in growth, celebration, and education, and some of our most popular events that welcome fall and its many followers all over the property.
Beginning with our first festival that allows visitors to go globetrotting through the diverse countries, cultures, and cuisines of the Orient.
We sort of kick off our event season with Asian Heritage Celebration Saturday, September 26th. It is 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. This year we're really excited because we're focusing a lot on adding new activities, new entertainment, and expanding throughout the facilities. We're adding martial arts exhibitions, so we've invited a variety of local martial arts schools to come out and demonstrate what they do and talk about the discipline that comes along with that. We will have a DJ on stage, plus the lion dance, the taiko drummers, other traditional dancers. We're adding into the gardens this year live cooking demonstrations, so you can learn how to make some traditional Asian foods and hopefully get a sample.
Sampling food, fine wines, craft beers, and island music too is all you need to know about why our Grapes and Hops Festival is such a popular attraction.
Some delicious restaurants, El Segundo Sol, Mon Ami Gabi, Strip Burger, M Street Kitchen, Stella Barra Pizzeria, and all of that food's included with the event ticket. So you're getting wine samples, beer samples, and really delicious food samples. The event is October 3rd. 5 to 9 p.m. and on stage we have a great reggae band, so we're very excited.
October, of course, ends with a bang and a boo as our original Haunted Harvest Festival makes its spooktacular return.
This year, Haunted Harvest is running the last 3 weekends of the month, 5 to 9 p.m. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, each weekend. We'll have entertainment on stage, carnival games, trick-or-treat stations, a petting zoo, the Haunted Hay Maze. This year we're excited about changing up the theme in the maze. It'll be an Alice in Wonderland theme. So a little spooky but really fun for the little kids. We're adding a family bingo with a Halloween theme and some new craft activities.
And we've raised our traditional Hispanic celebration of the spirit world to a level of high arts and crafts and activities for all ages.
And then Day of the Dead, Dia de Muertos, is the first weekend in November, 4 to 9 p.m. Always a fun event, lots of entertainment, lots of color, food vendors, art vendors, activities, sugar skull decorating, face painting, all of the fun that comes along with Day of the Dead. We'll have about 30 altars set up throughout the facility. They're done by local individuals, groups, schools, and then there's an altar contest that goes along with it, and the winners will be announced on Sunday.
But if you like your works of art to be all natural and on the wing, you'll want to follow the swarm of butterflies and their watchers for the reopening of our seasonal habitat.
Fall is going to be a perfect time as that summer heat starts to go away. We get some cooler temperatures, which are going to be perfect for the butterflies in the exhibit and the guests down there as well. There are different butterflies that were in there that were really popular. Had monarchs in there, which just happens to be kind of that signature animal. Those will probably be in the rotation. As far as some of the more exotic species, the blue morphos and the giant owl butterflies were also really popular, and I expect to see them again as well this fall.
Joining the whole kaleidoscopic scene of color and flight will be those butterfly-loving gardeners who want to study our palette of attractive plants.
I know that's another big question that we often get from our guests is, how can we create our own butterfly habitat in our own yard? So it's a great way to go in there and learn about some of the different plants, and then maybe chat with one of our gardening staff as well.
While the habitat and its inhabitants are dependent on the temperate weather of fall, what stays on display all year long are the lasting plaques that keep memories alive and help ensure the return of the preserve's butterflies season after season.
We do offer some different options with engraved plaques that you can get personalized, and those are great just for memorials or anniversaries, that sort of thing. So you can personalize those plaques to meet your individual needs. And if you want more information about those, please just check out our website at springspreserve.org.
The art of the tattoo will make its way from the storefront parlor to our Big Springs Gallery for a show called Hot, Dry, and Inked, which embodies all the ancient, edgy, sacred, and street-smart imagery of the needlecraft as it spread from seafaring to desert-dwelling cultures.
It's a group art show that's all about celebrating tattoo art, which is very important in Las Vegas, part of the culture and the economy here, but also what happens when you put tattoo artists in the desert. Tattoo art is normally inspired by the sea, by ships and mermaids and anchors. That sort of imagery is really iconic in Western modern tattoo art. And through this, we're going to explore tattoo style art that they've created in other mediums. So whether they're painters or sculptors or collage artists, photographers, they'll be able to explore that tattoo art theme influenced by the Mojave Desert.
The exhibit will be on display from September 18th, 2015 through January 10th, 2016. For more information, visit our website at springspreserve.org.
One of our most precious resources is the wilder side of the preserve in all its natural and historical glory. And as its willing stewards, we believe it's been well kept, even with all its secrets that are still awaiting discovery.
We have 180 acres, and the great majority is just the wild preserve part. So there's historical walking trails, there's a bike trail. You can see indigenous animals. When they rebuilt the Cienega, over 250 different species of animal returned to the site. And the majority, obviously, birds, but still it was really unique that they found us right in the middle of town.
Just like so many of our guests who flock to our featured attractions, which have then led them further into the origins of the preserve.
Most people will come out and obviously they go right into Origin Museum or they run down to the Sustainability Gallery just because those are the things that people talk about and it's also easily accessible. So then usually the train has been really great at drawing people out there and then they see the trailhead. And it's been a really nice addition. So it looks like a train, only it's trackless. And it goes around the back part of the trails, and it takes about 20 minutes to do the loop. And there is interpretive voiceover, which goes and lets you know what you're passing and why the area is significant in the history of the preserve. Along the back, we have the original railroad cottages, which will eventually be a recreated scene. But you can see those as you go by, and they have been restored to look exactly as they would have in the early 1900s.
For those who'd like to see these and other sites, we offer just the vehicles for freewheeling around the preserve at their own speed.
We don't allow outside bikes, but we do rent them, and we have them for children, adults, and so you can just go out and sort of explore differently and get to some of the spots more quickly.
Or you can explore much more of this undiscovered country in the company of our expert staff by arranging a group tour.
We have a lot of ologists, I call them. So we have an archaeologist, biologist, and a tremendous gardens team. So we've been doing a lot of specialty tours. We do have a history and archaeology tour.
So why wait to visit such a well-preserved yet accessible place when it may be a life-changing experience?
When people come out, we always hear, I had no idea. And you don't have to drive out of the city. You don't have to go so far just to have a moment to get away from everything and just walk around and feel that you are miles away from everything. You don't hear the freeway. And that's usually what I hear when people come back. I had no idea that was out there.
In many ways, our volunteers are as varied and fascinating as the flora and fauna and cultural features that grace the Springs Preserve. So we know you can find your place here and play a part in creating a more enriching experience for everyone. Learn about our volunteer opportunities and fill out an application at springspreserve.org.
We think you can feel carefree about indulging your sweet tooth with with all the natural sugars in Chef Cicely's pears that are perfectly poached in pure maple syrup.
Howdy folks, my name is Chef Cicely and I'm joining you here from the Divine Cafe at the Springs Preserve. Today we are going to be making a lovely sweet dish that can either go two ways. It could be a wonderful dessert or it could even be enjoyed in the morning for breakfast. So what I've got going on here is first some honey, some syrup, maple syrup, pure maple syrup, and some water. I'm going to combine all of these in a pot and then we're going to be poaching some pears. So we're making maple poached pears. So let's go ahead and get our poaching liquid started. Just simply scraping off that honey into our pot with our maple syrup. And then I'm going to dilute it with a little bit of water. Now when they make maple syrup, they actually take the sap out of the trees and then reduce it quite a bit to get the texture of maple syrup that we have. So I'm taking it a step backwards, mixing water back into it. But what that's going to do is allow me to actually make a real poach. So to poach something means to cook it in a liquid solution. And I'm not going to serve it with the liquid solution until I reduce it. So it is not considered like a soup or a stew. So I'm going to put this on the stovetop and let it begin to heat up and get our pears ready. So what I have here are Asian pears, and these are a unique variety of pear where they have a similar shape and also texture to an apple, but the sweetness and the softness, the sort of more characteristic texture of a pear. And that's just what was in season for us right now, and they tend to take quite well to poaching. So all I'm going to do is just simply skin these, slice them up, remove the core, and they'll be ready to poach. Now I could use regular pears for this, and I do love doing that also. In fact, it's a wonderful dish to do any time of year because pears are always unripe when you buy them typically. Pears are a unique fruit. They have to ripen off of the tree instead of on the tree. So they get harvested about 3 to 4 times a year. And depending on when you buy them, they could be hard as a rock. You test the stems to see if they are ripe. That's where the softness is. And then if they're not ripe and they're nowhere near being ripe, poaching them is a great way to break down the starch in that fruit, to open up the sweet flavor, and to allow you to still enjoy a fruity light dessert or breakfast, even if what we have available is out of season. I've got some other ones that I've already skinned and cored. Those are going to go into our poaching liquid. They will cook down till they're fork tender for about 20 minutes. Then we'll reduce the sauce and we will be ready to serve them. I've got my poaching liquid here, my maple syrup, diluted maple syrup and honey. I'm going to go ahead and put my pears in. Make sure they're all nicely covered, coated with my mixture, and just let those continue to cook down. It'll be about 20 minutes until they are what is considered fork tender. Now I've got a pot over here that's been going for a while, so I'm going to scoot this one back. Just adjust the burners. And these pears are definitely done. So with fork tender, once I put the fork in, it goes in nice and easy, but here's the trick. It not only goes in nice and easy, but it comes out nice and easy. These guys are all done. I'm going to pull them out and let them cool. Because the way that I want to serve this particular dish is over some vanilla yogurt. So I want them nice and cooled off. I could serve them also piping hot over maybe some ice cream. But that's not where we're going today. We're doing a breakfast style dish. So I'm going to let this cool down. And with this now maple syrup and honey reduction, the sauce has actually pulled out some of the juice of the pear and mixed that in with the syrup, mixed that in with the honey. So I want to let that reduce to a nice glaze to drizzle over the top. I'm actually going to let it come back to the consistency of maple syrup and then even go beyond that, reducing a bit more. And I've got one that's been going for about maybe an additional 20 minutes. And we can see here it's nice and thick, beautiful sauce, and I can tell it's where I want because it actually coats the spoon. The pears are done and we are ready to make our breakfast. So what I've got here is just some simple vanilla yogurt. I spoon a nice amount of that into a bowl. I'm going to take my poached pears. I'd like to leave one whole one and take another one and just give it a little slice, maybe fan it out a bit. So slicing about a 1/4 inch from the edge so that part of it's still connected, and then laying it out over the top. I have my nice reduced maple syrup and honey glaze. Take a little bit of that and just give it a nice drizzle over the top. And then for a little bit of flavor and also color, because we do always eat with our eyes first, I want to give it some aroma of fresh mint. And then I also have some very, very thinly sliced lemon, just to give it a little touch of acidity. Fan that over the top. It looks beautiful to me, but I have one more just touch I want to add, and that is freshly grated nutmeg. And oh, there is nothing that quite tops the scent and the flavor of that. Touch over the top, just a little dusting with a microplaner will do the trick. And there we have it. Maple poached pears over vanilla yogurt with a touch of nutmeg, mint, and lemon. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm Chef Cicely here at the Springs Preserve in the Divine Cafe. We hope to see you here.
Just because we live in an arid environment doesn't mean we have to settle for the overly processed products of a food desert, especially when our Green Chef's Farmers Market brings the freshest and best locally grown produce to the preserve every Thursday from 9:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Find out more by visiting us at springspreserve.org.
There's a lot more to discover, so join us next time here at the Springs Preserve, where every day we're looking forward to knowing more about the history and future of our desert home that are ever present in bringing new life to Las Vegas.